Okay, man, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Now, come on, now crank this motherfucker up.
Break it down like this.
Hello, Internet. Gino, the Pinguino Greco here again with another episode of Deep Listens, and today we are going to be wrapping up our coverage of Sea of Stars. This is part 2. If you want to hear everything up until you get the fifth character in the game, the Roshan, you can listen to episode 1. Episode 2 we're going to be covering from that point on till the end of the game. Joining me, as always, to discuss all things video games, I'm joined by Pete Busby. Hello, Pete.
Hey, excited to talk about the rest of this one. My only big criticism is that my main man, Yeet, was not featured enough in the second half. I feel like he deserved a little bit more screen time. This week's fun fact, though, listeners, I work hard to find y'all good fun facts, and sometimes I come across a question that I find particularly disturbing, and it requires a deeper dive. And this week I found one of those questions on Reddit, which I try not to go to very often for a whole bunch of reasons. But some enterprising Redditor asked a very important question. Do babies have kneecaps?
Yes.
Maybe not.
Mm. When's the last time you've seen baby knees?
I've seen a baby recently.
Did it have kneecaps?
I mean, their skulls aren't fused. There are some bones that are a little loosey-goosey when they're babies.
So I don't know. As a childless man in my early 30s, people don't introduce me to babies too often. So I had to do some scholarly research on this one. Apparently, babies kind of have kneecaps.
That's what I figured.
Right. Mm-hmm. So baby kneecaps are basically cartilage, not bone like we have. Okay. So their knees turn to cartilage from bone between the ages of 2 and 6 in a very slow process that can take many years. And it's not until they're age 10 or 12 that your kneecap is fully developed into bone. So you have like weird loose baby knees until you're 12, potentially. It's weird.
That's why babies are so bad at planting and running routes.
It's true. Babies have very poor route depth consistency.
Yeah, that checks out. I feel like it's like the soft spot on the skull, but look, if you're going to be sending bone to the skull, I feel like that supersedes the kneecap.
True. And supposedly one of the reasons is because if they had like very bony knees, it could create complications during birth, which fair.
Yeah, it probably, for young primates, it's probably a bummer if you're like clinging to a parent and you're just kneeing them with your sharp bony knees all the time. That other voice you heard earlier is the Mistress of Games, M. Palladino. Hello, M.
Hello. I'm thinking about baby knees, and that's a weird sentence I never thought I would say.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks for that. Excited to talk about the second half of this game. I'm going to say it now. I think this game might be pretty good.
I agree.
I'll go out on a limb and say this might be a good game.
Pete say this game might not be good, so we can have controversy for the show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. I hate this game. On my list of most hated game, it's Undertale 1, Sea of Stars 2.
Excellent. Aggregate it.
They made a Sea of Stars 2? Oh, we got to get on that.
That was clutch, Em. I'll give you that.
Excellent. Before we discuss Sea of Stars, our usual plugs, you can get in touch with the show at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections, and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. That's our email address. You can send us feedback and emails. You can support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens, which would put us perilously close to playing Sonic 06. It would get you access to our Discord, let you reach out to the host of the show, and let you pick a game for the slush pile for Off the Deep End. There's a lot of great benefits to joining the Deep Listens Patreon, so please do so if you're in a position to, and if you like hearing our voices. Speaking of the Discord that you'd get access to if you join the Patreon, I think it's time to dip into the Discord report.
The Discord report. Boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop. This week on the Discord, I got some new cats today.
Cats!
Woo!
Cats! I was going to get some new cats back in September for my birthday, and then Maggie got sick. But now she's doing better. So
Yay!
we circled back around, and we got the cats that we were looking at. Chrissy and Janet.
Rum
And
Tum Tugger.
apparently,
And
yeah. Apparently that's a reference to something from the 80s. If you know what it is,
I'm
good for
pretty sure
you.
it's
'Cause I
Spider-Man
didn't.
the musical.
yeah, that's
I
it.
don't think that's it, but
Pretty sure.
good try. Other things going on in Discord. Gino was wrong about something, I think. What was I mad at
Hell
you
yeah.
about? What was I mad
That's
at
the
you
kind of
about this
content.
time?
I don't think that's true.
Oh, no. You played a game that you didn't like.
Oh,
Uh,
Across the Obelisk?
Yes.
Yeah, I've
How do
been.
you go across an obelisk?
It's a
You-
whole.
It's not a very far journey. It's just like, that's not the long side. You
It's
just,
a deck builder, and there's an obelisk, and it teleports you places.
Hmm.
that's it.
It does. That's the conceit for how it has zones.
Hmm.
You start in a starting zone, then you get to the obelisk, and it teleports you to two other zones, and then the end game.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
That doesn't sound long at all. And seems like you had a problem with the length.
I mean, my issue with the length is that it's a run based game, and runs take 3 hours.
Hmm.
And
Damn, that's a long run.
That's a long run for a run based game, and then your characters level up and get more perks the more you play, and each character has to be leveled up. Like they have multiple levels, like perk level and then individual level, and they only level up when they're in your party. And so, like
Gross.
to unlock all of the party members and then get all of them to maximum level so that they are their true selves, it takes like hundreds of hours, and that's just too much for a run based game. I like the run to be the difficulty. I don't need to feel like I'm doing a progression treadmill at all times of my life. Sometimes I just want to play the game.
That's what life is.
Oh, damn.
That's fair. Whatever happened to that deck builder you were playing? I forget. It was like,
Which one?
was it Marvel or something?
Oh, Marvel Snap?
Marvel Snap. That's more of just a card game.
Okay.
I don't know. I just stopped playing it.
Hey,
I got
a lot
all
of
the
games in the world.
cards.
Can't play them all.
Yeah, I got all the cards that were current at the time, and then I was like, "Well, now what am I gonna do?"
Play this game just for the love of it? No.
Hell no.
I was just here to collect. But then they added Miss Marvel recently, and I was like,
Ooh.
maybe I'll go back, and then I didn't. So
Way to go.
I freed myself.
You and everyone
Alright.
else who played that game, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, it had a shelf life, so
That it did.
I think it exceeded it.
Just like the Marvel universe itself.
Ayo.
Yeah, there was a lot of discussion of Little Goody Two Shoes in the Discord for a
Mhm.
while.
Yes, there was one other thing I wanted to
What was that?
mention.
It's a game.
Oh.
It's very good. It's
Okay.
a psychological horror game, kind of about a Red Riding Hood-esque character who's living in a little German village, and it's very 90s anime themed, and it's kind of a dating sim and kind of a psychological horror game,
But
and
also,
it looks incredible.
yeah, ZP says that I would like it because it's kind of gay.
Oh, it is very gay.
And if we cover it on the show, ZP demands to be on.
Yeah,
He has thoughts.
I started playing it. I'm not that far in, but we should at some
Mhm.
point cover Little Goody Two Shoes. It's very
Mhm.
cool.
There was a controversy at one point. I forget if it was like the 80s or the 90s, somewhere around there. But somebody published a book claiming Hansel and Gretel was real.
Oh no!
What?
Yeah, and like people ran with it until the person was like, I pretty much made all this up.
But wasn't the world more interesting for that one day where you thought it was real?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Makes you think.
Yeah. The only other thing in the Discord is that the Game of the Year is coming up. And it's going to be a banger,
It
I
is.
think.
It is. We've got many games to pick from. We
Yep.
might even add a new category. Maybe we'll remove a category. We'll see.
I have already added one new category,
Oh.
surreptitiously.
Okay, I didn't notice it yet. I'll
So
see.
you announced it
Ah.
on our
Yes.
public podcast surreptitiously.
Yeah. I mean, Gino didn't notice yet, but
Oh, damn.
maybe he'll figure it out now.
I hope it's a good category.
It's all right. It's a quick one, I think.
Excellent.
But because the game of the year is coming up, there is the Deep Listens quote of the year going on currently. There is a ballot where you can pick your favorite quotes from our out of context quotes section on the Discord, which has some weird things in there.
It's got some real good quotes.
There are some interesting minds in our Discord, I'll say.
Yes. Yeah, Pete, I look forward to yet again reading off the quotes and you hearing them for the first time with absolutely no context.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorite parts of that category. All right, so now I believe it's my time for my obsession of the week. This week, I guess, did I already talk about the Scott Pilgrim show?
I don't think so.
I don't think I did.
No, if we did, but I'll second that.
Yeah, there's a new Scott Pilgrim show on Netflix. It's good. It's a good show. They got all the actors and actresses from the original movie back to voice them, to reprise their roles, voicing them their original
that's cool.
characters.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they got all the big name people, and it's pretty good. It tells a nice story. It is not just a retelling of the movie, which I appreciated.
I'm surprised that Chris Evans was available to come back for that.
I'm surprised Brie Larson was.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
pretty much everybody has better things they could be doing. I think some
Does
more than
Michael
others.
Cera?
Probably not. Did you know that the only reason this show exists is because Michael Cera replied to an email from when they were filming the live action movie in 2013 or whatever, and everyone was like, "Why are you replying to this?"
Really?
And that got them talking again about doing something new. I think
Nice.
that's true. It could be like, urban legend or whatever,
That'd
but
be
I choose to
incredible.
believe it.
A
He just,
whole
like,
a whole
replied
show.
to a meme like LOL or whatever. That's what did it.
Oh man,
And that
that'd
show's
be
pretty
very
good.
funny. An entire program because someone hit reply all on an email by accident.
Yep.
All right. Well, yeah. Check out. Is it called Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Life, or that's just the first episode, I think. But it's good. It's a Netflix
Scott
show.
Pilgrim Takes Off.
That's it. Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. It's a good show.
Yes.
They got Anna Monoguchi back to do the music. They got all the voice actors back. It's good. All right. So now I believe we should turn our attention to Sea of Stars. When we last left our intrepid heroes, Sun Boy and Moon Girl, and Garl, they had and Sarai. They had just met the great alchemist Rashan, and they were given the directive to go to an island where they can find the Clockwork Castle, which is the Fleshmancer's base in this world, and you have to go try and defeat the Dweller of Strife, which is the worst of all of the Dwellers, before it can, I guess, hatch or something. So at this point, Rashan takes you, you use your boat to get to this island, and you meet another stone statue. This one's just a big head, and he uses his newly found vial of time to snap it back to life. Pete, what did you think of the goof with that? The little joke that they had with the statue.
It seemed a little mean to me. So, like, basically what happens is they wake the statue up, and they're like, "Hey, statue!" Like, the alchemist is like, "Hey, statue, these are your friends. Help them out." And then Sun Boy is like, "Hey, we'd really like to go to the Clockwork Castle. Please drop the force field." And he's like, "Nah, you guys are my friends. I can't let you do that. I'm not doing it." And then, like, alchemist sort of rolls his eyes and resets the statue, like, puts back to sleep again, wakes it back up, and says, hey, these are adventurers, let them in. And he's like, cool, you guys can come in. Which seems super mean to me. I mean, they were just sort of like brainwashing this giant statue over and over again. It's a jerk move. Add it to the list of things I hate about The Alchemist.
Very fair. I mean, I thought it was a kind of funny bit, but yeah, mind wiping this giant statue, reanimating it, and then mind wiping it. Yeah, a little rude. Definitely. Oh, go ahead.
Are the statues alive?
This one is.
It seems like they are. Like,
So, like, what was going? Like, was this one dead and they brought it back to life?
it's like sleeping.
I think it was sleepy.
You
And
know?
they woke him up?
I
Yeah.
think so.
All right.
With
I guess that's
magic.
okay. The brainwashing
probably-
I'm still against, though.
Yeah, there's like a story about this statue in the book that you can read stories out of.
Oh, the
that
grimoire?
Teeks has. Yeah.
Yeah.
That probably is explained in there.
It
Why it's-
explains a little bit. So, like, that
Yeah.
statue, the explanation is Yomar. Is it Yomara, the one who's neutral of the three sisters?
Yes.
Which, I don't mean to jump at, so I'll ask my questions when we get there.
So she prophesized that there was going to be a great flood in, the distant future. And so to make sure that one of the islands survived this great flood, they had this giant basically hold the island above sea level, like significantly above sea level, so that they basically would have some land preserved after this giant flood. So that's why he's actually standing on the ocean floor and is basically holding this island above his head.
I'm gonna make a prediction now. Listeners, you can put this down, circle back with me in 50 years or so. I bet somebody proposes that as a solution to global warming. Like, guys, sea level's rising, but we love these SUVs. Can we just jack the land up a couple of feet?
Just a little bit, not too much.
It'd be hard to do, but we definitely need some sort of giant man.
Yeah. Can we build a giant man?
Is there any way
Lift
we
up
could-
the entire United States.
We need like an Atlas situation. We need someone to suffer. Is that okay?
It's like we've built our nation on it up to this point. Why would we change now?
Excellent. So yeah, you convince this statue to let you in. You go through a dungeon, the Autumn Hills. That's pretty fun. I like the section where you create a boss out of leaves, basically leaves and twigs. That's kind of fun. Then you go to this. Oh, go ahead, Em. Did you have something there?
This was the part you were thinking of in the last episode, and there is also a little like pushing leaves around thing that you can do back in your hometown that I thought you were talking about. I was
Yeah.
like, that didn't seem like anything really.
Yeah, I was
Which-
like,
Yeah.
oh right, there was that other section. Thank goodness I haven't spoiled it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that. I like that there's a little puzzle to summon the boss. That's kind of fun. Then you go to the Songshroom Marsh, which is maybe my favorite dungeon from like an aesthetic perspective.
Gino, are you skipping? I think you're skipping a bit of story that we should go over, unless I'm out of order.
Which
this
story
where-
is that?
Isn't this where Brewgraves shows up? And
Oh,
has a
yeah.
little
Yes.
backstory.
Mhm.
Yeah, you do get a
What happens
flashback.
there?
Yeah, what happens?
You basically learn. It tries to explain why your predecessors, Brewgraves and somebody help me out.
Alina?
Alina?
Sure. Why
Sounds right.
Brewgraves and Alina sold out the entire universe because they were sick of being solar warriors, and it is not a satisfying explanation.
What? How would you try to give the most charitable explanation for why they're doing this?
Okay, they were psychologically destroyed by the Dweller of Strife wiping out all the other Solstice warriors, even though they weren't there and didn't participate in the fight. That'd be the most charitable thing I could render, I think.
Yeah, so like Erlina and Brewgraves were trained. They are the last surviving Solstice warriors other than the headmaster, Moraine. And Brewgraves doesn't like that he's not good at being a Solstice warrior. He's slow.
No, he's bad.
Moraine's like constantly chastising him, and he's like, "This guy's mean to me," and Erlita's clearly in love with him, and so she's like, "We need to get you out of here because you suck at this." I think the charitable explanation is Erlita loves Brewgraves and knows that he's no good at this and will get killed if they have to actually fight a dweller that's not weakened, and so she's trying to get him to. They're trying to get out of there before they're killed in action, basically.
Well, also, they watch like 40 of their fellow Solstice warriors and their headmaster go off and just get completely destroyed. So they're like, we gotta get out of here somehow.
It's true, but they win.
Yeah,
Like it costs that. I know that's not the point here, right? Like it costs 40 Solstice warriors, but they win, and the response is, "Oh, let's bring back the thing that killed everyone we know."
Mhm.
Well, that's what they needed to do to get out.
It's a bad plan.
They're gonna survive. It'll be
somewhere
fine.
else.
The Fleshmancer's gonna be really good and honor their wishes.
It'll be so chill, guys. The Fleshmancer's such a good dude.
They got to make demands. It'll be fine.
When has a person named the Fleshmancer ever done anything bad?
Are there any good Mancers?
Some pyromancers seem cool.
Pyromancer's okay. Like Necromancer, no good.
Mostly
Fleshmancer,
bad.
even worse.
Yes, definitely true. But yeah, good to remind me. There is that flashback where we get the unsatisfying backstory of these two just complete putzes. So yeah, then you go to Songshrew Marsh, which I love. And what did you think of this level design?
This is fun. So there's a lot of mushrooms like growing out of the swamp, and you gotta like by this point you can turn the time so that the sun comes from a different angle without standing on any of the pads that you used to have to use.
I have a question about that too.
Yes.
Yes.
So this is a big world,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
This is fucking up the environment, if that's your
Yeah, what
question.
does everybody else do?
This is happening globally. This is changing night to day, constantly, back and forth. Everyone else is just like, well, those solstice warriors are at it again.
It's
Nothing
not
we
even
can do
just
about
that. Like that part's bad enough. Like what it does to like the animals and the people that are just like it's
Yeah.
midnight now.
Uh-huh.
But the other part of it is, it's not as if like day and night just switch on and off, right?
Mhm.
Like the way day and night works is it's the rotation of the Earth. So in order for this to happen, they have to accelerate the rotation of the Earth to some sort of a cataclysmic rate, which would kill everybody.
Well, you're
And-
assuming a heliocentric model of the world.
Interesting.
All right. Fair. You called me. I am.
What if they're moving the sun and the moon?
Yeah.
A far
then?
bigger task.
You're right. It's so simple when you put it that way.
Well, they can summon an eclipse whenever they damn well please. So I assume it seems better, I guess, if they're moving the sun and the moon. I don't know. Look, it doesn't matter.
It does.
Everyone
It
seems
honestly
chill about
doesn't.
it.
But it bothered me the entire time that I was like, you're ruining everybody else's lives on
Yeah,
this whole
no-
planet.
No NPCs seem bothered by the fact that you can just do this
No
at a
one mentions
whim. They're just like, hey, what's going on, you guys? Like,
I guess you're a superhero then? Okay.
yeah.
I guess you needed to do something? Oh, you just needed to move a block so you could get a rainbow conch, huh?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Cool.
My father fell through a hole in the floor because it went dark all of a sudden and his eyes couldn't adjust, but oh well, I guess you got that rainbow conch. That's great. All of my crops died.
You turned it to night, and then you didn't turn it back because there weren't any more puzzles. So
Now it's permanent night.
All of my crops died.
are you guys gonna undo that anytime? Are you
No.
gonna let go of the solar and lunar rotations anytime soon?
It became an eclipse. All of a sudden, we are all blind. Yeah, so the Songshrew Marsh, it's cool. Like, there's a bunch of mushrooms that sing periodically in time with the background music.
That reminds me, I turned the background music on for my second half of the game.
Makes a difference,
the music is good, yes. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I've been listening to the soundtrack since we've talked about it, and Teaks's theme is maybe my favorite. That and the Elite boss music from when you're fighting. I think it's when you're like on the way to the first dweller. There's a really good song in there. Yeah, there's a lot of bops. There are a lot of bops in this soundtrack. So in the Songshrew Marsh, you meet Romaya, the neutral sister.
No, that's the evil one.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Maroya.
No, that's the one who
Yomara.
is dead.
Yomara.
Yes, Yomara.
Oh, okay, so this was my question about her, and you might have just answered it. We never meet the good sister, right?
No, she was the leader of.
She was the headmaster of the school who
she
died.
was the Solstice Warrior.
Yes.
Oh, and then she died, and then Beardy McBaldhead took over.
Yes, because
Exactly.
he was the only guy left.
Gotcha. I did not pick up on that. Thank you for clarifying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Happy
So everyone gets more prophecies.
Do you remember what
We
they
are
were?
lousy with prophecies in this game. What is this, like 3 each now?
Yeah.
I just remember there was a prophecy that Garl, like she has Garly to Peach, and he's
Pear.
like pear, and this was incredible. She's like, I prophesized that someone would come who appreciated pears.
Like, okay.
I
Good
knew
work,
it would
I
be
guess.
the warrior cook who appreciated pears.
As if everybody else just like really hates pears.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember the other prophecies though. Were there? Em, do you have them in front of you, or do you remember them?
No, I do not remember. How would I
Did they
even
even
look
pay
that up?
out?
I think
Probably.
all,
Probably.
I think
They
all
all
of them
Fishman's
do.
payout. Elder Al missed his payout.
Mm-hmm.
I
Does
think
Neutral Witch's payout?
I think she just prophesizes about the pears. I don't remember, and then she like lets you through.
No,
Yeah.
because she gives the Alchemist one.
Oh,
Because like he's surprised. He's like, oh, but I'm like immortal in junk. She's
Oh,
like, "Still
she
have
says
faith."
that you're going to be able to solve if you allow some stuff to happen, you're going to be able to do the only alchemist like feat of alchemy you haven't achieved yet.
Mm.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And he's
So,
like,
yeah, that
living
one
glass?
Uh,
And she's like, yeah. And then he's like, cool, I'll stick with these kids.
I was gonna anyway, but now I'm really gonna.
Oh, one thing that we didn't talk about with the flashback with
Yes.
Brewgraves. Em, how do Solstice Warriors get to Mooncradle?
Oh man, yeah. So there's a tree that is in the little town that you start in. Do you remember the name of it?
The
No.
cool tree.
It's a cool
Yes.
tree. It's
That's
a pretty sweet tree, all right. That's what all the villagers say.
It's a long name, but they
Yeah.
say the whole thing every time. Like, oh, you mean the pretty sweet tree?
Yeah.
All right.
And so there's a great eagle that swoops by every now and then and will just drop a baby into the like through the I guess they hit all the branches on the way down and then land in a pile of leaves. And that's how babies are born in this town, as far as I can tell. Because these are the only babies we see getting born.
They're not born. So what happens, the mechanics of this, I think, it is a stork situation with a big eagle.
Yes.
But first off, do you recognize that eagle?
I do.
Not
Who's-
yet, because I haven't gotten into a boss fight that lasts long enough to use an ultimate. But
Neat.
soon.
Who's that eagle?
It's the Alchemist.
What?
Reason
Yeah.
2 why he's a big ass jerk.
So
Because he's stealing babies, right?
so
Is he
he's
stealing them, or
he's-
is he
just
just
taking them.
making
He's snatching
them?
them babies. So
I
there,
think he's snatching them babies.
there are babies that are born on the solstice, and he's
Mhm.
basically omnipotent or omniscient at least. So he just goes and snatches them up, turns into an eagle and drops them off at Mooncradle so they can be trained, because his plan for beating the Fleshmancer is Solstice Warriors. Like, he is basically funding and powering the Solstice Warrior initiative. So he's delivering these babies.
He's building a child army.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is his plan. It's
Man,
a great
this
plan.
alchemist, man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's up with this guy.
He's really good in combat.
Yeah, I'm skeptical though.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about his combat stuff at the end of the show, but he's got a move that if you time it right, it hits all the enemies with poison damage, and that's pretty good. And then he's got a team up attack with Sarai where you can kick vials at enemies and it time delays them by a lot. And does a lot of damage.
Does a ton of delay if you hit it.
He's pretty sick in combat. It's a shame he's such a jerk.
You can also just remove locks, like random locks. So if you have 2 locks remaining that you don't have any like good combo to do, you just have him like get rid of one, and then if you time the hit right, you get rid of another, which is pretty useful.
Yep. He can just deal with any 2 locks of any combination, which is great.
As long as you don't mess it up.
Yep, don't mess it up. The timing is a little weird, but try not to mess it up. So yeah, at this point we've learned the origin of the eagle. You go through the Songshrew Marsh. You get to the Clockwork Castle. Rashawn reminds you he is not allowed to fight the Dweller. Whatever happens, he's not going to help you.
Did we have the big monkey yet, or is that later?
We passed Big Monkey. Big Monkey was before.
Was it?
It was before you get Rashawn, the large ape.
Was it?
Gorilla.
Gorilla Mom? Yeah.
Gorilla Mom, yeah. She's in Torment Peak. That's right before. That's like
we talked about that.
Okay. It's all a blur.
It's okay. It's a long game.
It is. There's a lot of game here.
So Clockwork Castle, it's the Fleshmancer's base. Once you go inside, apparently time is frozen in there. So you come across some kids who have...
But your skin still ages?
Yeah. They don't look like kids. But they say we're kids, and I was skeptical. But there's basically child engineers that are building whatever the Fleshmancer wants, because they've been trapped in the Clockwork Castle for eons, and if they step so much as a foot outside, they will turn to dust immediately.
What was the Fleshmancer's plan here?
Just like some laborers.
Yeah, but like, why kids? He's like, I need to build these intricate machines. Oh, you know who's really good at engineering? Children.
He needs their little hands. It's like Snowpiercer. Have you ever seen Snowpiercer?
I have. It's an excellent film.
It's like that. He needs their little dexterous hands.
Okay. I mean, he's the Fleshmancer. You know, why should I be surprised?
There's a few times in this game where there will be someone asking a question like, why did he do this? It just seemed needlessly cruel. And then the answer is just, it was needlessly cruel. He's not nice.
Yeah. He's like, he's the Fleshmancer. I don't know why you're confused.
Yeah, we'll cover that a little bit later. Another time where he does something stupid and needlessly cruel. And it relates to these kids too. It's going to be great. But yeah, like these kids, they're assembling stuff, and they're pretty indifferent to the whole Fleshmancer thing. They're just like, yeah, as long as we're in this building, it's fine, but we can help you. So they've been developing devices to like turn against their Dark Master for a long time. They also sent you to see the Watchmaker.
Talk about indifferent.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about her a little bit.
What's her deal, Em?
I mean, she's also in the same situation where the time is not progressing, but she's cool with it, and she's just working on machines the whole time.
It's making clocks.
Designing games.
Yeah, basically. Like, she's the one who makes the wheels board.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She invented wheels.
Yes.
Did she tell you that?
You find it out a little bit later. There's another character that's like, hey, you should ask that watchmaker to make me a board. And I forgot to actually go back and do that now that I think about it.
I did it. And she also, if you try to challenge her to a game of wheels, she's like, you haven't even beaten every master in the entire game yet. Don't even challenge me.
She is the top tier wheels challenge. So, there you go.
Yeah, and I do like the idea that she's just trapped in there designing games all day. And speaking of wheels, I don't think we really covered it in the first episode. We might
We
have
touched on it a little bit.
briefly touched on it. Em, did you play Wheels? What did you think of it?
Oh yeah. So Wheels is a mini game where you have a clockwork like board with two characters and then a slot machine. And then by making combinations on the slot machine, your little guys attack your opponent. So there's like a whole bunch of different pieces you can use, and there's like a mage and a warrior and
Rogue,
some other ones,
mage,
archer.
warrior, engineer, healer, and archer. So there's
Yes.
6 total pieces. And then one other mechanic is there's this wall that you can build.
Mhm.
And the wall, when you you can either, there's a few different icons on the wheels of the slot machine. There's an icon for each of your characters, so you've got 2 characters at a time, and then a wall icon.
Mhm.
And the wall will basically build a physical wall.
Yeah, it's like a little hammer because you're
Yeah.
building it.
It builds a physical wall in front of your health, basically. And some characters, like the warrior's attack is at ground level, so it will slam into a wall of any size and do no damage if it hits the wall. Archers' arrows fly, I think, 3 high. So if you've got a wall of size 4, the arrow will hit the wall. If you've got a wall of size 1, it'll just fly right over and hit you. And so there's like this kind of defensive mechanic, at least until you get the good pieces and then ignore that mechanic entirely.
Yeah, like the assassin can just like hit behind the wall. It doesn't matter. Yeah, the mage can just go right over it. And I think that's one of the starting pieces, isn't it?
Yeah, the mage fires 1 fireball low and 1 fireball high. And
Yeah.
so the mage will always sneak at least some damage through.
Yes.
Even though it might not be a lot of damage.
Mm-hmm. But because of the ranking up system, your pieces go from like bronze to silver to gold. If it reaches gold, it's still gonna get like 3 or 4 damage through, even if it's just like 1 shot, which is pretty good because you only have 10 life.
Yeah, and every time you level up after you've maxed out and gotten gold, you do 2 unblockable damage that just ignores the wall.
Yep.
So like they have some mechanics in there to make the game end. So early game, they give you really terrible wheels and like really terrible effects. You eventually get better, and when I say wheels, like your 5th reel in the roulette. Sorry, not roulette, in the slot machine. Your 5th reel in the slot machine is crappy to start. And the more games you win against champions, the better that wheel will become. It will give you just like better symbols. Like instead of a single symbol, it's a double. Instead of having a bunch of blank spots, it's got more. It's not going to miss hardly at all. So you just get your odds of doing good things goes way up the more you play and win champion battles. You also get access to more characters. You start with just the mage and the warrior. You eventually get access to all 6. My secret for beating everyone was if they had a character that could hit a wall, I went with engineer and healer, because the healer actually healed your HP and could put you at 12 or more. And every time the healer pops off, it gives experience, basically. It makes it likely that the other character will attack. So it makes it so they attack more frequently. So engineer plus healer means you're just building, and the engineer builds walls and attacks when his turn goes off. So if they have something that's vulnerable to running into a wall, I just was basically building walls constantly and then healing out of range of damage. So you eventually will just win. And then if they had something that didn't care about the wall very much, I just went rogue and healer, because the rogue ignores the wall mechanic entirely. And when the rogue fires off its attack, it delays whichever enemy character is most likely to attack next. And so they just very rarely even get attacks off. The rogue is broken.
Yeah. I have a very quick pro tip for this. If you have no idea what is going on in the Wheels game, if you read the like in-game description of how the game works, it will tell you that the it's a 3. What is it? They have some like obscure like shorthand for it, which makes no sense in line. Basically, it's saying you make 3, you get 1 tick on your like attack thing, and then higher than that, it'll add another one. So it's 3, 4, 5, 6. You get 1 additional tick on your attack meter or whatever. So I didn't know that, so I was making like pairs of 2 to begin with,
Yeah,
and that doesn't do anything. Yes. So once I understood that, I had a much easier time.
Yeah, and it's not just purely like you're spinning reels. You can lock reels. So if you get if you get one reel that's good for you, you can lock it and then just spin the other 4. And so you do get some ability to control your rolls, but at the end of the day, it is a slot machine, so you can just get screwed. Like I found that the first victory was the hardest victory in the entire game because they stick you with a bad wheel and then 2 bad characters. Like I think the mage is probably mid-tier, the warrior is the worst character, and you have to play against someone who doesn't have junk. And so you just get worked. And then as soon as I got a better wheel and unlocked another character, I it might have taken me an hour to win my first game, and then took me about a half hour to win every other champion battle. Yep. Okay, so back to the Clockwork Castle. You have to fight the Dweller of Strife. How does that battle go?
What? Which one is this?
This is the flying eyeball. The flying eyeball.
So you have like a laser.
Yeah, you're not doing well yourself.
Yeah.
You are not going to beat this Dweller of Strife. So basically what you're doing is you're more or less stalling for time. But each time you hit the Dweller of Strife, it energizes this crystal laser that your child engineers built for you and shoots the Dweller for actual real damage that you're not doing until he's like, F this, and tears down the entire tower.
Yeah, so you're doing okay because of the laser, and then he just blows up the tower. And at that point, Rashawn's like, "Yeah, this one's lost, guys. Let's just, I guess, try to live out the rest of our days in peace because the world's gonna end." And Sarai, the assassin, just kind of says no to that. Rashawn, help! Like, you're omniscient or omnipotent. You can deal with this thing. Just kill it. And he's like, I can't. There are rules. I can't. And so she says, F that, and then throws his flask, his alchemist flask, at the Dweller. And then he says, oh no, what have you done? And dun dun dun, the Fleshmancer shows up.
Yeah, stuff starts popping off.
Mm-hmm. This scene's crazy.
So what are the consequences of a broken rule, Pete, that you can tell?
Man, they have a really weird rule. So it's like 1 for 1. Like, all right, the alchemist got a shot in. Like, granted, he didn't do it, but the Fleshmancer's like, bro, like, you let her grab your flask. Like, this one's on you, my man. So they get 1 shot for 1 shot. So the alchemist got a shot in. So now the Fleshmancer gets to take his shot, which is a weird, dumb rule.
Yeah, they basically attack. If one of them attacks the proxy of the other, the actual, like, alchemist gets to take a shot. So Rashawn barely, they threw a flask and the giant eyeball, like, blinked. And so I guess that counts. And so now the Fleshmancer gets to shoot a ball of, like, hot death at the Solstice Warriors, Sarai and Garl. As the Fleshmancer, like, shoots his shot, Rashawn stops time, and they kind of have a chat for a while. Talk about time crystals. And then Garl, he's a good boy. And so he steps in front of the blast and takes it straight in the chest.
Mm-hmm.
And he is not prepared to take that shot.
No, he's got no magic.
He is just a normal dude. And he is not doing so hot after that.
Yeah, he does not feel good, Mr. Stark. And so he's just like dying, basically. And everyone's like, trying to soothe him over, saying they're going to help him. He's like, I can't be helped. And Rashawn's like, he's done. But there might be one thing we can do. Mm-hmm. if Garl asks for it. And
Yeah.
Garl asks for borrowed time, basically.
A
If-
flask
Also,
of borrowed time.
Let's tally up some things though. All right, because
Mhm.
I want to make sure we're keeping track of these.
Mhm.
So reasons the alchemist is a jerk. So raising his child army, right?
Okay. Pretty big one.
Refusing to help in any of the battles. And then now, like, he's not even he's not gonna tell Garl, like, here's what you need, my man. He's like, he's got to ask for it. Can't just be giving out these flasks all willy nilly.
I mean, it seems like he and the Fleshmancer they're playing a game. We find out they are playing a game across multiple realities. And in some of these realities, the Fleshmancer is winning. In some of them, the Alchemist is winning. And the Alchemist he's operating through proxies. He's working in mysterious ways, Pete. He can't just be doing it. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't even realize that's what was happening.
Yeah, there's a story, I forget if the story from Teeks explains it or if Rashawn explains it at some point. Someone explains that, like, Rashawn basically, he splits reality into basically a multiverse situation. And
So he can be a dick in all realities?
Yeah.
Well, in some of the realities, there are solstice. Is it solar gods, or like some of the solstice warriors ascend to godhood basically and protect that universe from the Fleshmancer's minions, and good wins. And then in some of them, the Fleshmancer snuffs out all light, and then he wins. And so Rashawn is just like trying to tip the scales in each one a little bit, and the Fleshmancer is trying to tip the scales in each of them because they're omnipotent.
Is this a game for them? Are they just like playing chess here? Like,
I think
this is Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, this is yeah, exactly. This is
Gotcha.
that
Okay.
Kingdom Hearts
Now I
thing.
get it. If you had just said it's Kingdom Hearts, I'd be like, oh, a game that makes perfect sense. Now I get it.
Yeah, it seems what the Fleshmancer, like, they have some dialogue, and the Fleshmancer's like, when are you gonna just unite the timelines again so that, you know, we can move on with our lives? And Rashawn's like, I need to figure out a way to end this in a better way. And the Fleshmancer's like, well, whenever you're ready to move on, tell me, because this is stupid what you're doing.
God, what a jerk.
I mean, it's all of this just so Rashawn doesn't have to confront his buddy, basically. So yeah, they're super powerful beings, but Rashawn, with his weird rules that he's made for himself, won't help Garl unless Garl asks, but as soon as he asks, he makes a flask of borrowed time, which basically Garl has a vision of, like, what everyone needs to do to kind of move beyond where they're stuck right now. And he doesn't have enough time to achieve it. And so this flask of borrowed time basically gives Garl just enough time to enact his plan, which involves going to the kingdom of the Cloud Kingdom. You're basically, it's a kingdom in the sky. And before this, what's her name? The Moon Solstice Warrior. Valerie. We get that prophecy from the Cloud of Mist, the Elder Mist. That comes true because the way that you get up to the Cloud Kingdom is ...
You part the seas. You make that path.
Make a path over water.
Yeah, You walk on water. Oh, also, the solar one.
Yeah, he can fly now.
Oh,
Yeah,
right. Yeah, that was it.
He learns how to fly. So, like, both of the prophecies of the Elder Mist fulfilled. And
Which
this
we
is
find
also...
out because when Garl gets hurt, they're like, "Oh fuck!" and then they fly off into the Elder Mist realm or whatever, which is very far away. And then Sarai just like opens a portal and like boops in there.
Yep.
So I don't see why we couldn't just do that.
It's fine. They learned how to fly. All the prophecies are getting fulfilled.
It's pretty cool. It's
Portal
cool.
magic has had no rules this entire time.
Yeah.
It's cool rules. Whatever is cool, the portal can do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you go to the Cloud Kingdom. There, in the cloud, there's giants. And I
Are
love
these the
the way they are
giants?
represented.
Like, is this where yeet comes from?
The
I
statues,
don't know.
they are built to resemble those giants, but they are not themselves those giants.
Gotcha. They're statuary. Okay.
Yes,
Oh yeah, I think they actually have a story about that too.
they do, and it just says like I forget who built them,
What
but
am I
one
going
of the
to
other
read? I don't play video games to read.
great
They
point.
read it to you, technically.
Well, they
Teek's
don't have
little
voice
icon
acting.
is on there.
There's no voice acting, so you still have to use your eyeballs like a savage.
Gross.
But yeah, I think those statues are like built by another race to resemble the cloud giants. But I love the way they're represented, the cloud giants. They're sprites.
Oh yeah,
Like
they're just feet, most of them. Like, because as you're moving through, there's like a shopkeeper and some innkeeper, and it's just like they're gigantic legs, and you run under them, and they lift their feet so you can get past. It's very funny.
I love that. The sky giant's like, I can see you down there. Don't worry. And then he lifts his feet because you're floating in clouds, and so there's very little walkable space.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You basically go to a magical council and have to convince them of your plan. What is Garl's elaborate plan, if you remember?
Okay, so in order to open the Sea of Stars, which title drop finally, in order to open the Sea of Stars, which is the only way to get to where we need to be, which we don't know where that is yet, but we're sort of getting an idea. They need to convince the Cloud Giant Council to basically show them that they're worthy. So in order to do that, they have to do a miraculous feat. And Garl decides that the feat that he is going to do is to wake the sleeping dragon that is wrapped around a mountain. And they're like, well, that's very dangerous. It is called the World Eater for a reason. You probably don't want to do that. And Garl is like, no, wait, I got it. Check this out. I'm going to bake a big bread. They're like,
Big bread.
They're like, say no more, Garl.
I guess
No
a
flaws
big
in this
bread
plan.
could work. And his justification is like, no one can be mad when they smell fresh baked bread.
Yep.
Fresh
Everybody love
baked
bread.
Everybody love
Like,
bread.
You're right, Garl. Everybody
Yeah.
does love bread.
And
Who
these
could be
cloud
bad
giants
at
are
waking
like,
up,
damn.
waking up to the smell of fresh baked bread? That's a
It's
good
really
tongue
hard
twister.
to say.
That's a good tongue twister.
It
I don't know why
is.
it's so
Also,
hard to
like,
say.
prior to this moment, there's no indication, at least as far as I can tell, where Garl is getting all this information from.
You just had a
So,
vision.
like, he's dying, he gets his borrowed time, and now he knows everything.
That this was a storytelling faux pas, I think, for me, because I don't know.
This
Garl's
Destiny
the-
was too much Destiny.
Yeah, there was so much going on in like a couple of slideshow clips. Like, you're gonna go here to this volcano, and then you're gonna wake this guy up, and also it laid out the whole plan for him. And it's like, could have just been like, you know, could have done that a little more concisely, I think.
Well, he needed to lay out the plan to get approval in triplicate from the cloud giants, and then he can do the plan. Without
Well-
their approval, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, no, not that him laying it out was the bad part. I think
Oh.
it was having the vision where it's like, and here is the sleeper, and here is the volcano where you're gonna bake a bread, and here is the like place where magic,
They need to grow crops, so they
Yeah.
need to go.
you need
Yeah.
magic wheat. And also you should get this dragon scale from the thing you beat a while ago.
The killer Seahorse.
Yeah. He could have had some of those thoughts in his own damn head, is all I'm saying.
Well,
What makes
instead, oh, go ahead.
Garl suspect that the Eater of Worlds even likes bread.
Because everyone likes bread.
Because everyone likes bread. Next question.
I mean, yeah, I that's like we're hand waving that one pretty quick too.
Listen,
Well,
Garl's the main character of this story. Is my thesis from last time, and I'm standing by that, even though he's literally dying as we're doing this.
Yeah, no. Good thing no Super Nintendo role-playing game has ever killed the main character midway through in a heroic sacrifice.
I can't recall one that ever has.
Yeah, no one would ever do that. So yeah, Garl gets blasted. He has a vision. This is the impetus for the split up the party mission.
Mm-hmm.
So you get, what is his name? He's the Fire Solstice Warrior.
Zale.
Zale. So basically, Rashawn clones himself. He makes three versions of himself to roll
Full
around
Dr.
with the other guys.
Manhattan.
And Zale and a Rashawn clone go to defeat. Like they need to get some wind spirit. Zephyr.
Yep.
And this is going to blow the scent of the baked bread to the sleeper.
Mm-hmm.
Then Sarai and Rashawn go back into the like hell dimension where you got the Vespertine, and you go defeat the giant seahorse so that you can get a scale from it, and that scale is going to make magical water that makes crops grow really fast. Garl works with the mole kid that you helped out, the like geomancer that you met earlier. What was that?
Mallow Mud. That's his name, isn't it?
Right. It is Malamud. Yeah, you beat it. You go get him, and then he's going to terraform this volcano. But first, you need Valerie and Rashawn to clear out the volcano because there's a monster inside of it. And then you bake the bread.
Yeah.
So you get a bunch of boss fights with only 2 characters, which I thought they were pretty well designed. All told, I didn't have much difficulty. What did you think of the actual execution of the plan, Pete?
So the execution makes sense, right? Like if we accept at the beginning of the premise that this is a good plan that Garl has thought out fully, which I don't buy for a second, then yeah, like this is, you know what this reminded me of, honestly? This is going to be a deep cut for y'all. Let's see if you're with me on this one.
Okay.
Do you remember that episode of Hey Arnold where they're trying to break the world record for making the world's largest pizza roll?
Yes.
I do.
Yes, I do remember exactly that episode. Please go on.
Well, basically that's what happens, right? They bring the whole neighborhood together and they try to make the world's largest pizza roll. That's basically what Garl's doing, except it works out better for Garl than it does for the Hey Arnold gang.
Does it? I mean,
Garl dies, but
yeah, like 2 seconds later, but.
Yeah,
I guess the
in the Hey Arnold episode, they fail to make their pizza roll, but they end up winning. It's a dumb ending. They end up getting the world record for most failed world record attempts. So I guess it works out okay for them too.
They just wanted to be in the book.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the plan works out. Garl does wake the sleeper, and the sleeper's like, "Your baking has touched my very heart. Could I get a name that isn't World Eater?"
And he's like, "You're the captain now." And Garl's like, "Oh, I'm in charge of this dragon all of a sudden."
What is his name?
Wentworth?
Yeah.
He says he's going to become a butler.
He says caterer.
Yeah. Oh, that was it. Yeah.
I was like, word, man. Good dream.
All right. Cool. Good luck to you.
Yeah,
see, he names him Wentworth.
It's very good. I love that he's named Wentworth. That's great. And doing all of this, after this, Garl passes away. He dies. He ends up they bury him under the tree where the babies get dropped off.
Garl's like, you know what I've always loved? That tree where that eagle drops stolen orphans. Bury me there.
Drop that right on my corpse, please. So he dies. There's a sad, everyone takes a break for a while, and trains and gets stronger.
They take like a couple of weeks off based on the narrative.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I guess, yeah, your friend just died. This is also very like emotional, kind of.
Yeah, it's well done.
Yeah. Good on them for not making it like, well, I'm gonna say actually going through with it, but that might not be entirely true.
Yeah, they do a good job of selling you on Garl's passing. And Garl, like you said, in many ways, he is the main character.
Yeah.
He's got the emotional drive of a lot of this. He's making a lot of the big decisions that shape the world.
Mhm.
In many ways, Zale and Valerie are his, like, they are the powerful folks, but they are guided by Garl. Garl is steering everything.
He is the emotional heart of the party. And without him, Valerie and Zale have to actually like become characters a little bit, which we had a complaint that they were kind of flat. And they're still kind of flat, but at least they get more lines.
Yes, they get a little bit more to do now that their best friend is dead.
Mm-hmm.
And you then at this point, Sarai's like, I need you to help me. We need to go through the Sea of Stars. Like, I've been helping you guys out. You got to help me now. Let's go through the Sea of Stars. And this is maybe one of the coolest moments in the game. Em, would you describe what happens in the Sea of Stars as game juice full?
Oh, yeah. We talk a lot about game juice here. Game juice is where there's like cool stuff happening on the screen in response to the player's input. So maybe it's not game juice per se, but it's cool as hell. Yeah. You basically go down into the center of the earth and then take your boat through a, like, at the end of 2001 A Space Odyssey, where it's just like flashing lights and zipping like colors passing by. It's basically that, except you're in a boat.
So because you're in a boat, it made me think of Willy Wonka.
Oh yeah.
Where he's just like, we're going to trip acid for the next 15 minutes, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Get ready.
And the part that really threw me here is it starts out with you just kind of exploring these empty spaces. You're boating around in this underground sea. And then eventually, after you've followed these sources of light enough times, it cuts to behind the back perspective on the boat.
Yeah,
and the
it does
boat goes
a tilt.
It does a tilt.
Nothing in the game does.
No
change of angle like that.
And the boat becomes polygonal.
Yeah,
it's 3D for a second, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Wild.
It's cool as hell.
It's cool as hell.
When that happened, I was like, wait a second, is this game going from a 2D RPG to a 3D RPG 20 hours in?
That would be crazy. That would have been crazy.
Instead, they did it just for the effect of the boat. They don't go to full 3D. I thought they were, for a second, it was like, oh man, this is transporting them to a third dimension.
What would the Kickstarter stretch goal have to be for that? To be like, all right, we're going to make an entirely different 3D engine for the rest of this game.
Okay. Well, based on the amount of money that they received, they probably could have done it. Based on did you watch? Okay, the credits have a speed up button to get through the just regular developer thing, and then it has an ultra speed button so you can get through all of the Kickstarter backers.
God, it's so
there
long.
are so many. So
yeah.
They could have done it.
It's a very cool effect. It's one of the coolest moments I've seen in a while in games.
Mm-hmm.
I actually noticed in Mirth, the fish, the fishmonger's stand, there are polygonal fish, and I was like, that's weird. Why are those fish polygonal instead of being sprites like everything else in the game? Weird that they made a 3D engine just to make these fish. And then I think some of the bosses are slightly polygonal, but they use good shading and sprite design so that they appear 2D.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, oh damn, they did a full 2D to 3D move. Okay, that makes total sense why they did a 3D engine so that they could do that.
They did it all for that.
It pays off.
Worth it.
And you end up at a Sea of Stars port, basically, in an unfamiliar place that looks vaguely sci-fi.
Well, you're in like an underground tunnel area first, right?
Yeah, and there's a door, and Sarai has something to say.
Before we get to what Sarai said, do y'all remember that Viking game we played?
Yes, I was thinking of
Yes.
Do you remember what it was called?
No. Which one?
God.
Yeah, that's what we should play. We're basically a Viking podcast.
Yeah.
The one where it turns out it was the future all along.
Yeah.
Oh, right, that Viking game. Yes. Thor was just a dude in a suit.
Yeah. All right. Eventually we'll figure out what the title was, but it reminded me of that.
Something of Iron. Song of Iron? I think.
That feels right.
That sounds right.
I feel like I even picked it. I can't remember.
You did.
You did pick it.
But yeah, it's basically one of those turns, which I was like, oh damn, they went there too, when I saw that. Because you're wandering through the dark, and then all of a sudden you get to a door, and then the lights turn on, and then it's like futuristic, and then a robot comes out. You're like, oh, this is what we're doing now. And all the UI is also all futuristic looking. Very good.
Very good. And Sarai is like, hey,
Oh, by the
welcome
way,
to my world.
I live here. Takes off her face mask and she's a cyborg.
There's no face. There's no face under there.
There's just metal bones.
Yeah, so
Kind of scary.
The part that's above her scarf was the only fleshy parts she has. Everything else is metal from the waist, from the chin down, basically.
Like the nose down. Because
Yeah.
she doesn't have a nose
Super
and it's kind
creepy.
of scary.
It's just holes. It's very strange.
Yeah.
It's a good design.
So for those keeping track at home, Sarai is a pirate and a ninja and also a cyborg.
That's
So
too many things. You don't get
Yeah.
that many things.
You can't be
She
the
does.
coolest character in the game. We need to give stuff to other characters. No, we don't.
No, we
Sarai
don't.
has them all.
Warrior cook and then ninja, cyborg, pirate.
Yeah.
So
Sure. Why not?
Pete, what happened to Sarai's world?
So Sarai's world was doing okay, it seemed like. And then the Fleshmancer came to town. And he's like, look, I'm sick of these solstice warriors. So from now on, you don't get any celestial bodies. So he took the moon and sunk it into the ocean. I don't think they tell us how he did it, but I guess he's the Fleshmancer. He can do stuff like that. And then he commandeered the space station, or cloud station, I think it is technically, and created so many clouds that it blocked out the sun. So there's no moon, there's no sun now. And then he's like, you know what? I'm the Fleshmancer. I've done a lot, but have I done enough? Let's turn all the people into cyborgs. And he did. And it ruined everything.
Yeah, so this is basically a world that the Fleshmancer won on. All of the people, like, human babies are still born, but then he sends them to a machine for processing where he turns them into cyborgs, and then he uses their bodies for his experiments.
For Fleshmancer stuff.
Yeah. So he basically uses them as cattle. There's messed up mutants and stuff everywhere. There's robots all over the place.
It's very Cronenbergian is the word I would use.
Yes. So you get sent at this point to, first you go to Sarai's hometown. Everyone's sad. It's the dirty future from Chrono Trigger, basically, where no one has hope. So you go there, no one has hope. You can get new weapons and stuff. Then you're told to go to the Cerulean Expanse, which is this big
Expanse.
It's an expanse. It's like those dungeons in so many RPGs where it's all one screen, but there's like 8 exits, and one exit will just take you back to the entrance, and all the other ones are like, it's a labyrinth.
Yep. It's that one puzzle that's in every Legend of Zelda. Most RPGs do this.
Yes. So it does that. You have to find things buried in the
Why?
sand.
Is this like cheap from a programming perspective? Like you only have to program the one screen and it's just a labyrinth?
It is much cheaper.
Yeah.
It is much cheaper.
It's a staple of the genre by now.
True.
So,
yeah, I mean, it's
that's
just
why they did it
expected
here.
at this point. But
In this one, you get a little drone that follows you around because Sarai has a computer helper.
Cedric?
Cedric, yeah.
Yep.
And when it is near a thing, it beeps. And so there's like little stone tablets that are what you use to navigate, which is better than what they do in like Legend of Zelda, which is where someone goes, by the way, you want to go left, right, up, down, side to side. And then you just have to remember that or have written it down or whatever.
They do this in Pokemon Sun and Moon too.
Oh, probably.
With like pillars.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, FF8 does this with the Labyrinth as well. I mean, it allows you to create like 5 or 6 screens instead of 20.
Mhm.
So I get it. But yeah, this Cerulean Expanse, you make your way through, and then you find the Lost Ones hamlet, which is this little, it's like basically a dome where there are ghosts.
Mhm.
So this ancient race called the Songsters were processed by the Fleshmancer, and they're terrible. Their ghostly souls are trapped under this dome, and they can't escape until you beat a boss, which is one of the most gruesome bosses I think in this whole game.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Which one is this?
I think it's like Medusa Him.
Medusa robot. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
His
Mhm.
face
Medusa.
peels off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His face falls off, and he's got tubes for hair, and the tubes like pull out glass tubes that he cracks open to shoot stuff at you. It's gross.
Mhm.
But yeah, you kill him, and then Rashawn basically tries to find one of these ghosts to be a subject in an experiment to give them a body.
Who wants to go on a trip?
Yeah. What happens with that, Em?
So Risha finds a ghost that is kind of a weirdo, I think, from the other ghost perspective. Do we know why they're like...
He's kind of the leader. He's got a lot of determination.
Yeah, they're just like, he's the best of us.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, fits, I guess.
Yeah, so Rashawn is like, we need someone who is highly motivated because otherwise this will not work. I need to do this alchemical experiment to make living glass. And so he does that experiment, and our new ghost buddy, whose name is...
Best.
It's Best, but there's no E, there's an apostrophe. So I read it as Best, but it's kind of Bzzt.
Let's call him Best so that it's easier to pronounce.
Yeah. So Best joins you. Best is a tank and hits with punches, and pretty good.
He takes Garl's place, kinda.
Yeah. A replacement Garl, but better.
Yeah, no one can replace Garl.
In combat, they sure can.
Yeah.
In the story, not so much, but...
Like, the interesting thing, Best has, like, the charge-up attack for Best is psychic, so unlike Garl, who only does physical ever, or only blunt damage, Best can do blunt and psychic damage, so better for breaking locks. Best also has a revive ability, and one other cool thing is that because Best is made of living glass, they don't get a weapon. Their weapon is the glass, so you never have to buy weapons for them.
Yep.
You do get armor upgrades, but not weapon upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
So once you get Best, you find out about a fail-safe There's basically this like pod
Fall
based.
safe. That was funny.
Oh dang it!
Have we met
leave
the
it.
birds yet?
No, we're
Is this
about
what
to.
we're doing? Okay.
Yeah, that's what happens. Is Best says, "Hey, there's this tube fast travel system. We need to go to the sky base so that we can stop the production of these clouds. The fast travel system in this world is turned off because the Fleshmancer turned off all the electricity. But we created a failsafe or a fall safe.
Mm-hmm.
There's basically this big statue in this environment called the Sacrosanct Spires, and the statue is holding a big piece of metal in its hands. We have this switch that will cause the piece of metal to fall, becoming a gravity battery. So the falling of the metal will power a generator, which will energize the fast travel system. So we need to get to the Sacrosanct Spires and deal with that. And unfortunately, the Sacrosanct Spires is full of bird cultists.
Mm-hmm.
And the bird cultists don't want you to mess with their god, which is this giant statue.
But you're gonna.
Which introduces one of the funniest characters in this game.
Oh my god.
What did you refer to this character as?
I posted in the Discord, Bastard Daffy Duck is in this game. There's like,
Accurate.
this is literally just someone traced Daffy Duck's face and like put him in a ghillie suit, kind of, with a duck skull on his head.
And a bazooka.
And a bazooka. This is such a strange, I was like, what is Daffy Duck doing here? And are they going to make this a reference? And then they don't bring it up.
Nope.
There is no, he doesn't call you, any of, what does Daffy Duck call people?
Wascally Wabbits?
Despicable.
No,
Despicable.
Yes.
Despicable. Yeah.
Wascally Wabbits is Elmer Fudd.
Well,
Elmer Fudd.
he's wearing a hat, though. It's a skull like Elmer Fudd's hat. He's like a horrible combo of Daffy Duck and Elmer Fudd.
He's an amalgamation of both of them. But
A lot of lore here.
Yeah. I looked it up on the Reddit, and other people were like, that's Daffy Duck. But no one could tell me why it was Daffy Duck.
Because it looks cool.
Because I guess they were like, what if we just had bird cultists and one of them looked like Daffy Duck? If anyone has a interview with a creator of the game, I would really like to know what their thought process was here.
Well, I mean, they have different bird types.
Yes.
So why couldn't one of them be a duck? And if one of them was going to be a duck, why wouldn't it look like Daffy Duck?
I guess. But also,
flawless,
one,
Gino.
Yeah, another one looks like a Pokemon. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, Abstract looks a little bit like a Pokemon and a little bit like Shadow the Hedgehog.
Where did he get Shadow the Hedgehog from?
The red around his eyes and him being an edgelord all the time.
I guess, sure.
Just got that shadow vibe to him, you know?
He looks like he'd use a gun in a world where no one else has guns.
Mm. Oh, also, before we get to these bird cultists, you release some guy, some bird is trapped in a force field trap, and then you let him go, and he's like, "Thank you.
I am also a bird.
I am also a bird, and very fast." And they do not explain.
Magic? Yeah, they don't tell you why he's trapped.
They don't tell you why he's trapped, or they have some vague mentions of I hope they don't release that guy between the leaders.
He challenged to be they've got rules about challenging to be the leader of the cult, and he lost, and so they captured Daffy Duck. Waffy Wuck goes and traps him, and doesn't bother killing him because plot, because he needs to be alive, and then Waffy goes and puts you in a cage as well, and then you break free because Sarai's got teleporting daggers.
What is the Daffy Duck actual name?
Ratcheter.
Ratcheter, which also I don't know why, but sure. It's just a name, I guess.
Waffy. I wish it was Waffy. Just
Wow.
Wah Daffy Duck.
I don't
But
know.
what can you do?
I thought it was pretty impressive you pulled that so quick, Gino. I have no idea what his name is.
I've got
the
a wiki
screenshot.
up.
I put a screenshot in the Discord because I was
No,
like, anyone else see this?
Yeah, it's a really good art. I like that character design a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you fight your way up. You fight these cultists. After you kill the cultists, before you even fight the cultists, someone says, "Hey, Rashawn, I got to tell you something about these cultists," and then trails off, and it doesn't get paid off until you defeat the cult leader. And he's like, "But why would you kill us? You're our god. Like, we did all of this for you." And he's like, "What do you mean?" And then you get a flashback. So we learn how Rashawn can become an eagle. And you were skeptical. You were like, "Oh," in the Discord, you said, "How come this guy could turn into an eagle?" Well, how come he can turn into an eagle, Em?
Because his brother, the Fleshmancer, decided that he was going to take a bunch of magic from these bird people and use it to give him the gift of flight, which seemed like a good gift to Rayshawn at the time. And then he realized, like, oh, that was messed up. That wasn't very nice of him, was it? He's been evil for a lot longer than I thought. Oh, well.
Well, he wanted the gift of natural flight, so the Fleshmancer does a bunch of flesh experiments on these bird people in exchange for giving them wind magic and
purpose.
Uh-huh. So the big statue that's the natural battery was built by the songsters. They saw this problem coming. They built the natural battery right under the Fleshmancer's nose because he thought they were too stupid to plan anything. So they were allowed to build this statue as this gravity battery because he didn't bother checking any of the designs because he thought they were too dumb. So yeah, at this point, Rashawn finds out that his ability of natural flight was given by horrible experiments. It throws off his calculation of when the Fleshmancer became evil, and so he pieces out.
Yeah,
he's just
added
leaves.
To the list. Added to the list of reasons this guy's a jerk, and I hate him.
He basically does not appear the rest of the game.
Yeah, he leaves you a dummy version of him, so you still have a party member, but he's just like, I gotta figure some stuff out. Deuces. And he bounces.
If he had actually just said deuces, I would have been so much more on board with his character.
He's a weird one.
Hey, look, he's got godlike things to be doing, and he was palling around with you for just long enough.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, you get the power back. You can travel to the sky base. It's another dungeon. Combat's fine there. You eventually get to the processor that turns people into cyborgs, and it's sentient. There's a core inside, an AI core that's like, I don't want to be turning people into cyborgs, but they put me in this machine that the only thing I can do is turn people into cyborgs.
if all you have is a hammer and you just turn people into cyborgs, clearly. Everything looks like a cyborg.
They say, why is the AI sentient? He's like, I don't know why the Fleshmancer made me sentient. He
didn't have to do that.
Once again, needlessly cruel.
That is it's horrible. It's horrible, but it is one of the funniest moments in the whole game.
Yeah. Between. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to keep going. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say between the child engineers and the living cyborg conversion engine, the Fleshmancer just batting 1,000 on needless cruelty.
Speaking of those children, let's go and check in with them.
Yeah, so at this point you need to kind of bop back to the Clockwork Castle. And you come up with a plan for how to reach the base of the Fleshmancer. And they come up with a plan with the AI that involves. Pete, how would you describe the kid? What do the kids do? What's the kid's plan?
The plan is they're going to build a mechanical frog. Why they pick a frog, Lord knows, and jam all their consciousnesses into said frog at once.
Yep.
That's
So,
it, right? Like I'm not
And that-
that's as
No,
complicated
that's
as
it.
it gets.
That's going to give them the technological prowess needed to like crack the code or whatever.
well, the plan is because they can't leave the Clockwork Castle and they can't teach you how to stop the sky base from making clouds. They're like, we need to be in the room, but if we leave the Clockwork Castle, we're just going to turn to dust. So they basically rebuild the machine that creates cyborgs, and they all go in, so they all get turned into one big cyborg, 5 minds inside of one frog robot.
Which
Mhm.
like they didn't have to do, you know. They could have made 5.
They saved
Eh.
time. And so they became the Artificer, which is this frog robot that's not made for combat, but they solve the sky base, they get the sun back by getting rid of the clouds. Then you go down into the infinite abyss to rescue the moon. You defeat the Dweller of Dread, which is like a big octopus thing. And then at this point, Valerie, and Zale get the ability to fly full time. And so you can travel around real fast.
Is this explained? I assume this is like a grimoire moment.
Which part? Them being able
Like-
to fly?
Yeah, that like suddenly they're gods.
So
Yeah, go ahead, Em. Explain.
so they are like reincarnations of these like lunar and solar gods, which characters just start calling them by that name sometimes. I think that's the whole explanation, actually.
Okay.
Is there more to it, Gino, that you remember?
No, that's basically it. Like the outcomes for each of these worlds either the Fleshmancer wins and everything becomes Cronenberg Town,
Mhm.
or 2 of the Solstice Warriors ascend to godhood.
Yes.
And so
And that's what
Valerie
you're doing.
and
Gotcha.
Valerie and Zale have been on that path the whole time, and you can kind of see it as you're fighting the Dwellers. Like at first, you need 5 Solstice Warriors to beat 1 very weak Dweller, and then you're taking on, with a little bit of help, you can conjure an Eclipse and do some crazy stuff to beat a Monkey Dweller, and then you're at least standing toe to. You're not instantly killed by the Dweller of Strife. You can't quite damage it, but you're at least doing something to it. And now you're under. Like, you fight the Dweller of Dread. I think, is there even an Eclipse? Or do you just go underwater?
You're
and kick its ass?
underwater. Yeah, there's no
Yeah, there
way
can't
that
be an
they
eclipse.
can have an eclipse because
The-
there's just
the
a
moon's-
sun.
Yeah, the moon's underwater, so they're just strong enough to beat the Dweller with no help from an Eclipse. So at this point, you could just see them getting exponentially stronger, and now you can fly, which is why you should really save the Rainbow Conchas for late, because flying is way better than using the Vespertine.
Yep.
This also unlocks a series of side quests that you couldn't get to before, because now you can fly. Like, there's a bunch of solstice shrines that you can do now. There's some underwater stuff that you can do. Like, there's an ancient buried treasure of the water folk. There's a couple bosses you can do that unlock at this point. But let's just cut straight to the Fleshmancer's lair, because there's a bunch of optional side content. We'll be here forever if we cover all of it.
I think we missed something very important that happened a long
Go ahead.
time ago.
What is that?
Did we mention how the Fleshmancer, when they showed up in the scene where Garl gets shot, basically, also takes your Solstice Warrior former friends
Oh, right.
and is like, I'm going to make you a general. Also, you kind of suck, so I'm going to wipe your mind, and you're going to, like, go live, I guess, in peace, question mark?
Yeah, I'm going to make you fast.
Yeah, so Erlina gets promoted to, like, basically second to him. And what's his name? Bargraves?
Brewgraves.
Brewgraves. Erlina basically got him a deal where she's like, he's too soft for this world. Please just let him go. And so he gets to go off. But you hear rumblings like in Soraya's hometown that there is a new general and she's mean as hell.
Elsandarel.
Yeah, you should not fight her. And so we're going to go do that.
Yeah, and he also takes the Dweller of Strife and then his minions, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and says, I'm going to make you one thing. And then that never...
Yeah, what happened with that?
I'll explain at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some internet theories. But we also never find out who the acolytes are.
That's true. They're just his acolytes.
Which is garbage.
It's for Sea of Stars too.
I did like that they explain how the acolytes are from the Clockwork Castle, and they are able to exist outside of the Clockwork Castle because there's this rose that adds years to your life, but every time it adds a year to your life, every second you hold it, it adds a year to your life, and it grows a thorn on your bones.
Yeah. And they say it hurts all the time. Most people only do it for 1 second and they get 1 year and it hurts for the rest of their lives. But they did it for a long time.
Which also explains why they're kind of crappy in the fights.
Why they get hurt so bad.
They've just got bone spurs in everything all the time.
Yeah.
So
anyway.
You work your way through the Fleshmancer's lair. There's a section where you're brainwashed. Zale or your main character, whoever's your primary character, is brainwashed. You meet the Soul Curator, which is the minion who leads people to get turned into cyborgs. You fight your way up. There's a bunch of minions who don't even want to fight you, really. They're just minions.
Yeah.
So they're if the Fleshmancer wants to fight you, go straight through. You get to see our Lord.
It's
How
not
lucky.
my problem.
It's a living.
Yeah. You want to buy anything while you're passing through?
Yeah. And you eventually go fight the Fleshmancer, and he's like, you're beneath me. You can't fight me. Instead, here's my second in command. What happened to Erlina?
She finally grows real horns.
Yeah, she's just like a monster, and she doesn't remember you.
She's a Cronenberg magic monster, basically.
Yeah. And her first form is not that hard, and her second form is only slightly harder, which is not very.
Yeah. Then you beat her, and then Zale and Valerie are like, okay, we are Solstice soldiers now. We've ascended to godhood. We're going to go take care of the universe. Peace. And then they fly away.
They fly away, and then there's a shmup.
Yeah, it becomes a twin stick shooter.
Yeah. Which interesting.
It was wild. I did not expect it to become a shooter briefly in basically the end credits.
Mm-hmm. Always expect a shooter in the end credits.
It's true.
Yeah. So that's the first ending. That is, it says the end ?
Yeah.
So there's also a secret ending you can get if you get all of the rainbow conches and then do a bunch of side quests. Every character has unfinished business that they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take care of all of those and get the rainbow conches, you can perform a miracle. What is the miracle?
Well,
in New Game Plus,
there is one thing that could be a miracle, and we're going to bring Garl back to life.
Ugh.
Woohoo!
Lame.
He's the heart of our party, and so we do all these side quests, and then we're like, all right, let's do this instead of I don't know, unmake the fucking Fleshmancer. Delete Fleshmancer from time. Make alchemy not work so neither of them can do anything.
So
I don't know. Hmm. I could think of a few other things, but let's bring Garl back.
So yeah, it turns out the moment when Rashawn froze time, right before Garl got shot, he was distracting the Fleshmancer so that you from the future with Best, because Best with the power of living glass can take the shape of Garl, take the
What?
hit in Garl's place, and then act like he died.
See,
And then
I,
you extract Garl and pull him to the future.
I didn't get all that because I just read. I got the fake ending basically, and I was like, I know there's a true ending to this. What is the true ending? And then I googled Sea of Stars true ending, and it was like, well, Garl's back, and I was like, well, I guess I'm spoiled. I didn't know how we did that.
So it's
interesting.
Chrono Trigger logic.
Right.
I don't know if you remember in Chrono Trigger when Chrono dies, the way to get him back is you go get a dummy that looks like Chrono, and then you hop to the moment when Chrono died, you grab Chrono and you replace him with the dummy, so the dummy gets vaporized instead of Chrono.
So
is this Chrono?
Is this all a reference?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's a reference, and Garl's back, so
Yes.
he's with your party for the rest of the game, so you can do the end of the game with Garl.
Mm-hmm.
And Garl also has a wish. Now that he's come back from the dead, he gets a wish, and what he wishes for is for a night at the Golden Pelican, that restaurant you can't get a reservation to.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so he gives you get a key, basically. And you know that island that's shaped like a fish that has nothing on it?
Yes.
That island, you have to go there. Garl has a lure that you need to cast out. And there's a series of like fishing-based puzzles and stuff until you get to the bottom of that island, and there's a giant fish that you can catch. And it turns out that giant fish is the chef of the Golden Pelican and lets you in.
What the hell?
And so
Okay.
you have to
All right.
you have to go to the Golden Pelican, and everyone, because it's a black tie affair, everyone gets new costumes because they have to dress up. So everyone gets suits and dresses. And then they just have a fun time.
I need you to understand. When I looked up Sea of Stars true ending, it started when you meet with the Fleshmancer at the top of the tower, and Garl is just there. And I did not know any of this other stuff happened.
No, it's awesome. You get like one last fun time with all the folks, and they're hanging out and they're talking, and Garl's toasting everyone.
You get a Citadel DLC with.
Yes, exactly.
Huh.
They did the Citadel DLC. That's all I could think of the whole time was these geniuses. They did the Citadel DLC as the new game plus.
Okay, hold on. Why did they hide all of this behind completing everything? This seems important.
Because the Citadel DLC has its impact because it came last.
I guess.
Because you wanted one last hurrah. It's only for the sickos.
This is just for the sickos. I was not sicko enough for this game, apparently.
Me neither. Gosh.
Yeah, so it's great. You get some great scenes. Garl's like the leader again. Like everyone's like, Garl's back. We can finally defeat the Fleshmancer because Garl's our emotional leader.
So it's
he's Mati.
So it's true. His
power is heart. Yeah, he's Mati. His power is heart.
Is that a Captain Planet reference?
Yes.
Damn right it is.
That's a deep cut.
So yeah, his whole thing. Also because he's back now that you've unlocked the ultimate system, he's got an ultimate.
Oh.
Want to know what it is?
I would love to know what it is.
Something real good.
He summons the sleeper.
The
dragon.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
He summons him, and his ultimate beats all locks, any of them, any lock combination. He just beats it. Straight up.
Is the sleeper dressed as a caterer?
Yeah.
No, he's still just a dragon.
Oh, so he hasn't achieved his dream yet.
He's working on it.
He's working on it. But in the meantime, Wentworth is shooting hot fire breath and winning battles for you.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get Garl back, there's also that Duke that Yomara raised,
Yes.
like that Duke. You can free his soul.
Mm-hmm.
There's a side quest to free his soul that you can do. There's a bunch of extra trivia you can do now. Everyone has their unfinished business, so you can help deal with the queen that never was in Sarai's world.
Who's that?
She's a robot gun.
Oh, okay.
That's cool.
Cool. Yeah. Hell yeah.
You can beat her.
Okay,
Most of them are super
okay.
bosses. Best wants to win in the Colosseum to prove that he's strong.
I did that.
You get a little hermit crab buddy. That's great.
Hangs out on your ship. I didn't realize you could actually go into the ship after you got the ship. I never
didn't
actually
either.
hit the button.
Yeah,
Then it
you
was
go on the
like-
ship.
Yeah, you
You
could
have to hold
enter
down
the
the
ship.
button.
Yeah.
It's kind of like going to a campfire, though. It's
Yeah.
not that different.
Okay.
It's like a campfire that's on the water in many ways.
That's what
and
I
then-
always say about boats. Like a
Like
campfire
campfire.
on the water.
There's one thing I know about boats.
You can do the end of the game again. You can run through the Fleshmancer's lair. You don't have to fight all the bosses again. You could just walk up to the final room.
Mhm.
And Erlina comes out, and they're like, "We don't want her. We want you." Garl's there, and he's like, "What the hell are you doing here?" I
Yeah.
see. Rashawn's done some trickery again. Oh well, I'll just kill you again. And Garl's like, "Nah, we're strong now. You're effed."
Then he's
And,
aft.
and then you fight the Fleshmancer. And he is not happy that you can hurt him.
Mhm.
And as you fight him, occasionally you will knock him into shoot 'em up mode, basically. And it becomes a shooter again in the boss battle, which is awesome.
It feels like I missed out on a lot of stuff. This
You
feels
did.
like
It's so
5
good.
hours of content.
I mean, some of it you can just like jump to, right? You've got the
Uh-huh.
ability to fly at this point. Like I said, you could just go to the final room of the Fleshmancer's lair.
Right.
You don't have to fight through it again. Most of these dungeons that I'm talking about are just like walk up to the boss dungeons. They're not full on like a ton of battle dungeons. There's a couple puzzle dungeons. But yeah, there's almost no combat outside of boss battles
Okay.
for New Game Plus. It's almost all just like solve a minor puzzle, fight a boss.
Mhm.
So yeah, the wrap up work here, really it only takes like maybe 2-3 hours, depending on how much stuff you want to do and how much stuff you have left.
Right.
But yeah, you fight him. That boss fight's very cool. And now basically the ending, in the original ending, Teeks, like they create some sort of memorial
Mhm.
to Zale and Valerie.
Big bowl.
At the end. Yeah, with the big bowl. Now that cutscene plays again and Garl is there. And like instead of they said that in the original cutscene, Zale and Valerie come back for the day that Garl died. Now they come back for Garl's birthday and they all hang out.
Aw. We
Yeah.
don't see them do that.
We do.
Oh.
They come back and we see them hang out a little bit, and
Aw.
we see old Garl and old Valerie and Zale. Yeah, and the ending's very similar, but all of the stuff with Garl is great. And then there's a double secret ending thing you can do.
What?
What?
Yeah, if you
God, how much Kickstarter money did they get?
if you beat all the Wheels champions and you get all the conches
Okay.
and you beat the final boss
Okay.
and you catch all the fish.
Okay.
I think those are all of the conditions.
It's a
You
lot
get
of
a hit.
stuff, you know.
You get a hammer. You get 4 hammers, one for each of those things. Oh, and you get all the trivia. So it's beat the final boss, beat the Fleshmancer,
Mhm.
do all the trivia, catch all the fish, beat all the Wheels champions. You get 4 hammers. If you take those hammers to the Kickstarter crypt,
Mhm.
you can get a double secret ending. which is, you know how in Chrono Trigger, if you beat the game fast enough, there's a room with all the developers in it?
Yes.
They did that.
Oh. Okay.
They did that. You can go to a room with all the developers in it. And the character from The Messenger is there also. Their first game, the ninja game.
Yeah. What's
So
he
he's
doing?
there. Breaking the fourth wall
hanging
like
out?
he does in that game.
Oh, okay.
You basically like open up a treasure chest. I think it's like a cabinet. It's a like Chronicles of Narnia thing.
Mm.
And
See,
he comes out.
this is for the true sickos
Yes,
who
that
have
is the
done
truth.
everything.
Yeah. But
They're
like
like-
some of them are pretty fast. Like Wheels, I think took me the longest. The trivia is pretty easy, and if you've beaten the game recently, the trivia is just like stuff that you've done in the game
I
or
can't
plot
even
points.
I can't even remember where I'm supposed to take all those trivia things to do them.
It's in the island that's always night. There's a entrance on the water.
The island that's always night. Oh, the like where the witch is.
The Dweller of Woe is
Yeah. Okay.
that town. There's a trivia guy in there. But yeah, like that's kind of cool. And in case you were wondering, like where the acolytes went and the Dweller of Strife,
hmm
they're a boss in The Messenger.
What? Oh, this is a prequel.
Yes,
This is a prequel to The Messenger.
it's a prequel to The Messenger.
Holy shit. I was like, they're setting up for a sequel this whole time. The sequel has already come out. It was the first game.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Brewgraves is in it.
What?
Yeah, you mess him up in The Messenger.
I gotta play The Messenger now.
yeah, and that room with the bowl, and you know, at the end of the
yeah.
game, they're saying like, "Oh man, they said that there's going to be a flood. This glass has got to be extra thick, huh?" Well, in The Messenger, that room is there and it's submerged, but the room has air in it because they made the glass extra thick.
That I feel like this is a long con for leading into The Messenger of all things.
Yeah, so it's in universe. All of this is in universe for the Ninja Gaiden inspired
Yeah.
game that they made.
Huh.
Yeah. And also like the time crystals you collect in The Messenger, which is like one of the collectibles. That's what Rashawn's like. I call them time crystals or whatever.
That's what it's a. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, they did it. They did all of it. Paying it off.
How many people played The Messenger, do you think?
We did.
We did.
At
I
least
mean-
3.
Okay. I didn't. You did.
Well, Billy did,
you and-
so at least
you
3.
and Billy. And then a lot of people, I feel like a lot more people played this game.
Yeah, I think so. It won the game in between our first recording and this recording. It won Indie Game of the Year at the Game Awards.
Is anyone like a diehard Messenger fan out there who was like, I really
gotta
wanted
be
to know
somebody.
what the bowl was? And
All our mess heads.
yeah.
So,
Oh boy. Okay, well,
I mean, I
that
think we've
blew my
we've
mind.
established all these endings are only for the hardest core of sickos. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, there's somebody.
But I was
Yeah.
like, they're just setting up for something else. I was like, Sea of Stars 2 is coming out in a couple years, and then I'll know what the deal is with this bowl. But that is
That
not
was
the
The Messenger.
case.
All of our listeners already knew it was a reference to The Messenger because they're like, wait, that bowl, I remember.
We do.
It
I mean, we
couldn't
do
be.
lead a legion of sickos. I'm sure.
Yeah. So what do we think? Closing thoughts on Sea of Stars?
I hated it until I got all those messenger references. Then I was like, okay, I get it now.
Okay, well, discounting all of the stuff that I did not understand, uh, I think this game is good as hell. Might be our game of our year
Could be.
contender.
Strong contender.
Good.
Strong
Yeah.
contender.
Probably our game of the year because we only played like 6 games that came out this year. I don't know what else is on that list, but
like, it's one thing for a game to make homage
yeah,
to, or like be inspired by classics. It's another to actually do the work to make a game that is roughly as good as those games were. And I think that there are elements of Sea of Stars that are as good or better than Chrono Trigger.
wow.
How dare you?
Like I said on the Discord, we were talking about like how this compares to Chrono Trigger, and people were like, it's probably not as good as Chrono Trigger. I was like, okay, but we're comparing it to one of the best games literally ever made. So I think this is a pretty big achievement for, this game by a studio that has one other game that came out.
Also, like, say what you will about Chrono Trigger, this game has way better fishing.
That's
is there
true.
fishing in Chrono Trigger?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Well,
I mean, I think I like the lock system and the combat better in this game than I do in, like, Chrono Trigger is just a very straightforward RPG at the end of the day. I think there's more going on here from a combat perspective. I think some of the storytelling twists are as good. Chrono Trigger is just bigger. Like, it's a bigger game. There's more maps. There's more worlds. There's more goofs in a lot of ways. Like I love the like minions in Chrono Trigger, Ozzy, Flea, and Slash. Like, there's more weird stuff in Chrono Trigger in a lot of ways. Oh, was Daffy Duck supposed to be? Were those 3 supposed to be like Ozzy, Flea, and Slash from Chrono Trigger? I don't know. Maybe that's why they exist like that.
Let's
evil Daffy
see.
Duck
Let
and
me
evil
compare
Shadow the
here.
Hedgehog.
Ozzy. Maybe.
Like, maybe that's what they were going for there. I'm not sure, but when I brought it up with Chrono Trigger, folks were like,
yeah, Slash looks like Daffy Duck, which is also a weird decision for Chrono Trigger to have done. But sure. Okay, I'm on board with that. I don't know.
That's what they were going for.
I don't know.
But I just think, even bringing it up as in the same tier or like punching with those games is a compliment unto itself.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
even if it falls short of that, it's wild that it's even close. And games that are inspired by Super Nintendo role-playing games but do not come close to meeting them, those sorts of games come out every year.
Yes.
They aren't usually executed with this level of craft and skill. That is what differentiates it. Like, this game has merits on its own, in a way that a lot of those nostalgia grabs don't. You can hand this game to someone who has not played Chrono Trigger, and I think they would have a very good time. It's not just references, which a lot of those games are.
Yeah. I feel like I might introduce this to someone before Chrono Trigger.
Plays, yeah.
They might like it better, honestly.
It learned a lot of lessons. Like, Chrono Trigger's a long game. It's
Yeah.
like, this game's very forgiving with its saves. It's got a lot of accessibility options. I think the story's pretty darn good. It's not as world spanning as Chrono Trigger, and it can't be.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it
think
still
it's-
does its like own way of doing that with the 2 different worlds.
Yeah, for sure. It's 2 versus 5
Right,
or 4 in Chrono Trigger, which is
It's
that's fine.
hard to compare.
Exactly. Like,
One
of them was
just like a sheer staffing question too.
Yeah.
exactly. Like, Chrono Trigger was one of the most highly anticipated and invested in games of its era. This was a Kickstarter project. Like,
Yeah.
It was a well-backed Kickstarter project, but it was a Kickstarter project. So yeah, any other closing thoughts before we pass it over to Pete for his pick?
Oh gosh.
I gotta go back and play the true ending, and that's gonna take another couple of hours.
I'm not collecting any conch. They can go straight to hell.
I already have 40 something, so it shouldn't be too hard to get a couple more, right?
It is much. I had 40 something when I finished the game. Once you've got the ability to fly, like getting most of them isn't that bad, and many of the conches that you're missing will be ones from like that side content. Like some of those extra bosses will have conches next to them. Some of those extra rooms will have conches in them. And if you aren't aware, there's a parrot that you can turn on that will tell you whether islands have content left or not.
Mm-hmm.
And that parrot will tell you if there are conches.
Yes.
So pro tips for you, Em. All right, so Pete,
Yeah.
what game are you picking?
Let me check. I forgot if there's an S on it or not. 2 seconds.
The
So
eternal
this
struggle
one's
of our show.
There we go. Okay. So this one's a little bit more, I don't know, contemplative. It's definitely shorter, but there was a lot of game here. This doesn't have any conscious. So I want to play Moon Hunters.
Moon Hunters.
Moon Hunters came out in 2017, so timely as always for a deep listens pick. It's it can play single player. I think you can play up to 4 people, and it's weirdly enough, it's another sort of sun and moon game. Like some stuff went down with the moon, and now some sun cultists are trying to destroy the world, and you got to stop them.
I like this style. This looks sick.
It looks cool.
Oh, this is Kit Fox.
It described it as a co-op personality test. I was like, I'm intrigued. So I don't know that much about it, but it sounded cool.
Play alone or with friends. The trailer right now just asked me if I'm seductive, so that's great.
There you go. Those are the hard-hitting questions this podcast audience needs to know.
Yeah. Creators of Dwarf Fortress and Boyfriend Dungeon and some other stuff that we should probably play. So, good pick, I think.
Hey, nice. I'm glad y'all love it already.
Well,
Yes, for
let's
sure.
not jump to conclusions here.
I recognize it, and the gameplay looks like there is gameplay, which, based on the co-op personality test, I wasn't sure if it was going to be an action game or not, but it appears to be an action game.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, next up we're playing Moon Hunters. Finally, we'll get Valerie and Zale. We'll take them out.
Gonna get them.
This is the story about how the moon got dunked in the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you, Em.
Thank you. Excited to play another Sun and Moon themed game in our string of Sun and Moon themed games. Next time, let's pick Pokemon Sun and Moon.
I played that.
You've played that. You're ahead of the game.
I haven't played that. Are there Pokemon in it?
There's lots.
I think so.
Awesome. Thank you, Pete.
Yep. Always nice when we get to play a good one.
And thank you, listeners. A reminder, you can get in touch with the show at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. You can support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. Till next time, peace.